What up, nation? Welcome to the first edition of the WiseTake KBO Daily Fantasy Sports Wise Stream CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. We've got first Wise stream we've done in a while for anything. It's been a little bit of a break. We've been doing content over at WiseTake.com, all free content for esports, League of Legends. They're on a little hiatus. Well, not a hiatus. They're just having like really small slates right now. But we're trying to keep busy, nation. I miss talking to the nation. Hopefully those of you have continued to check out our content on the YouTube channel. We've done podcasts. I've been doing DFS interviews, which I plan on continuing to do. So a lot of really cool stuff that we're doing despite the sports hiatus. And we just got word that we could have sports back sooner rather than later. Word on the street is that the MLB owners have approved the new potential 2020 season. So it seems like we should have MLB starting at some point. As far as basketball goes, we'll see. Everything else we'll see. But in the meantime, I think that KBO has been fun. I've been playing it every day. Worked hard on creating projections. Involved a lot of name corrections. For those of you that know anything about Excel or Google Sheets or any of that stuff, name corrections aren't always fun. But, because you got like 5 different ways to spell everybody's name in the Korean League. But as far as the baseball goes, it's not bad. I mean, I've enjoyed it. A little bit of a different game. There's less strikeouts, less home runs. But teams are still finding ways to get it done. We even had one slate where there was a wacky rainout situation. And 3 out of the 5 games got called. So it's been wild. It's been a wild ride. As far as making money, I've done okay. I actually had a pretty good night the day those 3 out of 5 games got canceled. It's a shame I don't think I had any teams without anybody that didn't get postponed, and that sucked. But overall, man, it's been enjoyable. I'm going after the 50K on this next slate, so I'm definitely pumped up, jacked up about all this. So we're gonna do here is we're gonna go game by game. Obviously, the 2020 season, we have a small sample. We've got a lot of foreign players that come in and out of this league, foreign as an American or any other country aside from South Korea. And so we're working with a lot of 2019 stats. I'm incorporating 2020 stats slowly. The hitters, I've already incorporated them into the projections. I'm averaging them with their 19 just to kind of show some recency bias along with what we're doing. We know baseball can be a very streaky kind of sport when guys get hot, things like that. So we're going to work it in slow. For pitching, I'm paying a lot of attention to the actual numbers you'll see on this. I have a little stat sheet that we can go through and actually look at some of the whatever advanced stats we can get. It's not a ton. We don't have the batted ball data, anything good like that, but whatever we can find, we can hold it. And like I said, man, I don't know about y'all, but anybody that does play MLB DFS, I mean, KBO DFS has been a nice way to hold things over. When everything comes back and we're back in regular doing the regular thing, I plan on continuing to do League of Legends projections and cheat sheets and all that kind of stuff. I really thought it was a fun game, and I think there's some edge there. KBO, honestly, it depends on the money. But in the meantime, we've already got them built, and we've got all the way up, still another like 2 months before they plan on bringing MLB back. So I'll be doing as much as I can, rocking with it. The streams, I'll do as many as I can. I guess, at least, hopefully at least, I'm going to try to do the 5 days a week. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on, and we're in a weird time in the world, but the problem is when. I'm not sure when, because obviously it takes me a while to update everything, and then these slates have crazy, ridiculous lock times. But we have free content right now over at WiseTake.com. Go check it out. We're doing cheat sheets that are automated based off our projections. We have free projections for DraftKings, not covering FanDuel, at least not now. Obviously, when MLB comes back, our regular sports we do, but FanDuel decided to do something weird with the pitching names, to say the team pitching names, and they got all different sets of names, so it would just take a long time for something that could be temporary. So we're just doing this just to keep guys busy. Now, as far as the breakdowns and all that stuff, I still think that the DraftKings articles and the cheat sheets are still feasible as far as who we expect to do well on a raw points basis. But on a point per dollar basis, obviously the prices matter, and therefore on FanDuel it's not going to be much good. But follow along. I mean, the stats are the stats, right? That shit's not changing. So follow along if you're a FanDuel player. And let's do the dirty. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We do all kinds of DFS content. Like I said, we're trying to get diverse, doing some DFS interviews. We just had Cash and DFS on the show, which was awesome. Got a lot of great feedback. Had Asumo, the #1 player in the world. and a lot of great other guests. Kevin Roth, meteorologist, a DFS meteorologist, who, when baseball comes, if you don't know him, you will, which you probably already do. But anyway, hit that like button, and let's go ahead and get started with the first game. One thing I like about this is that all the games start at the same time. So you have one sweat, right? It's not that long. And then on top of that, as far as I see, we'll see if things change, but it looks like there's just all the teams are going to have the same schedule and try to all play. Now, obviously, something's going to give because we had three games, that's 6 teams, that had a rain out they have to make up. So I guess we'll see what that looks like. But in the meantime, it's been cool, like I said. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Again, the stats you see on the screen are mostly 2019. If it's a foreign player, such as Aaron Brooks, who we'll talk about in a second, I tried to take, based off of where their trajectory was, I tried to find a AAA year, because from what I've read, the most comparable league to KBO is AAA as far as skill level goes. So I took some of a year that, based off of his stats from the one game he's had and how he looked, as specific as I can get, based off of, and then kind of looked for a trend based off this pace. Where should he be? So you'll see that trend when we get to Aaron Brooks. And the reason that's somewhat important is because our projections are using those stats not only for Aaron Brooks, but also for the hitters against him. So keep that in mind as we roll through this thing. But anyway, like I said, the projections are available for download at WiseTake.com. And we have cheat sheets I've been doing available over there as well. I've been doing, it's all free right now. I've been doing, what's it called? Breakdown as well, just kind of highlighting the stuff that I'm having exposure to. I'm building like 150 to 240 teams a night, so really going after it, not taking no breaks. I was hitting League of Legends hard too, and I think on May 15th or June 15th, some shit like that. I'll be hitting it hard again when it comes back. So when it comes back with better slates, aside from these 2-game bullshits. What I mean. All right, let's get into it with the Kia Tigers and the Hanwha Eagles. You have to bear with me on the names. That's why the visuals help. But we've got Aaron Brooks starting for the Kia Tigers. We're going to start with him real quick. I guess starting with the pitcher himself, he's a 168 favorite currently. His team implied their team total, their over and under at Pinnacle, the sportsbook Pinnacle, is 4.5 currently. Obviously, the other side of this game, 3.5. So I think Aaron Brooks is a very viable option. The whip wasn't bad. At 1.289, that was that AAA season. Like I said, the most comparable. So these stats aren't all that helpful. What I can do to kind of give you guys a little better of a visual is, if you bear with me real quick, I'll show you. So this is what he was looking like, Aaron Brooks here. This is what he's done so far after that first game. So we've got, based off those numbers that we just showed on the previous screen, his projection for 2019 and that AAA year would have been, it's not 2019, it's just that year that we selected. For most of the players, especially the players that have been in the KBO for at least a year, their stats are 2019 KBO, very simple. But this is this year, what he's done in that game. He was phenomenal. A .79 FIP in that game, FIP, .88 whip, 27% strikeout rate, didn't give up any home runs. He was just awesome. We know that that's not like the Aaron Brooks that we necessarily know, but this is a different place. If we compare it to that AAA year, you can see the FIP was around 3.5. So this was something I thought that was somewhat comparable to go off of for now. With that said, what we're mostly concerned about is what is he projecting for us at this moment, and what is his price. So let me see, at 7,500 on DraftKings, he does project to be one of our better pitchers at about 2x. I'm with it, man. Like I said, I wish we had a little bit more advanced metrics. Check out some contact numbers, all that stuff. We don't have it. We're working with what we got. But you'll see in the next screen, the opponent is looking at a 17.88% K rate based off their projected lineup. Now, again, these lineups are not official. I do wake up an hour before. These lineups don't get released about an hour before, and it's pretty efficiently out an hour before, somewhere around that. So I've been waking up about an hour before and just updating all the lineups to make sure everything's official. Our projections are designed to zero out people who are not in the lineup. So you may see people who are not on this list now who then get added into the projections later. They might have a 0 if you look up now, and they have but with that, again, that's all with confirmed lineups. That's the same thing for the cheat sheets projections. They're all going to update once they update the lineup. So if you're setting them, if you're going to set it and forget it, you're taking that risk. There's no late swap, obviously, because all the games start at the same time. If you are able of either staying up, or I guess it depends on the dedication and your life schedule currently, if you're able to either stay up awake in the morning, you can get the most updated content. So it's important that you do check for any updates. With that said, as far as Kia goes, I know that this is a stack that I have in my article. It's not out yet, but it will be. As I'm hoping to be a little bit lower on, but it may not be the case. If we look at some of the stats, they're going up against Minwu Kim, who I'll show you. Last year, Minwu Kim, we've got an ERA of 6.75. The FIP was a lot better at 4.48, but it's still not great. A 1.618 whip, which is pretty high. Only a 14% K rate. Wasn't a big home run guy, and I'm not really looking for the home. I mean, I'll take home runs, obviously, but that's not what we're necessarily looking for with the Kia team. They don't hit a ton of them. Hyung-woo Choi is a guy you're going to want to include if you're looking for home runs. Preston Tucker, I think, has been playing he has been playing really, really well right now. He's averaging over 10 DraftKings points a game for 2020 so far, which is above his average from last year. 377 WOBA last year. So the power wasn't as high as you'd expect from every foreign player, but this is not how it goes, right? You can contribute in other ways. So I do like him as well. Keep an eye, again, not having the official lineup sucks, but if they move Byung-Ho Park up to the leadoff spot, which they do from time to time, he's not a big ISO or WOBA guy, but 39 stolen bases. So if you're doing the stack, and again, I continue to do the 5-man stacks on DraftKings. I don't care if you do 5-1-1-1 or 5-2-1 or 5 whatever. And I've seen in some slates the donkeys were won by 3-3s or whatever it goes, 3-3-2 or 4-3, whatever. I don't care. I'm going with the 5. Over the long haul, I still believe that in any sport that has correlation involved, the more you can correlate your lineups, the better off you'll be. So I'm going to continue to do 5-man stacks, and I think they're winning most nights, but I'm not positive. I don't want to give any bad information. It's not what we're here to do. It's a different league, so it's baseball, but it's a different league, so maybe. But I'm going to continue to do 5-man stacks as we go. With that said, I'm hoping this team's lower owned. The problem is we have a lot of good pitching on this slate, and this Minwu Kim guy is, as far as numbers go, is clearly one of the worst that we have. So I'm worried that people will play Kia anyway. Not to mention they're a big favorite, but I do like them. They're not my favorite stack, but they are. Probably like there's one stack, my favorite chalky stack we'll get to. This would be, I want to say, like my somewhat not crazy chalk stack. I don't want to say low owned because I don't think it'd be low owned because of the pitcher, but again, it's baseball. I'm going to stack it up. All right. Had to calculate them ISO numbers myself. It's not terrible. It's just not great. They're just not that awesome. They're not that great. Not a ton of interest in the Eagles because I'm a little more biased. I'll probably have a little bit more of Kim. I'm sorry if not Kim. Definitely not Kim. Of Aaron Brooks. Just kind of looking at their projected lineup, you can see one of the reasons that I kind of like them is they just don't look all that intimidating outside of Sung Yo Lee and Jared Hoing. This is a team that'll be very low owned. Ownership, very, very important in all DFS sports, but especially baseball because there is a lot of variance typically. Again, not a huge power team. You're looking at a team that has some really, really low ISO numbers like Kwang Min Song with .093, and I mean, we're talking about a 5-hitter. So this isn't a team that's crazy for power. I mean, you could always stick with the 2-man, 3-man, like the mini stack, a team to kind of pair with others to get contrarian. You know what I'm saying? You can get contrarian, not have to do a full 5-man stack. You can get contrarian taking 3 players, using that as leverage if you want to say. I know some people hate that word, but against Brooks, if you think he's going to be popular. But I don't know what to expect as far as chalk with pitching because we have a lot of decent pitching. So we'll have to see. But we're going to move it on to the next game right now, which is the KT Wiz and the DC Dinos. NC. I always say DC. It's not the DC Dinos. Where you at, KT? Nope, that's KIW. I see why they did KT and not KTW because the KIW always screws it up. All right, so we got Odorismer Despagne. Let's take a look at him real quick and what he's done freakishly. So in 2019, I found the most comparable year. I found a good year in AAA that he had. He did not have very many good years in Major League Baseball at all. But I did find a AAA year that he did pretty decent. And again, that's more to neutralize. Number one, to see what he can do against this level of competition. Again, like I said, AAA seems to be the most comparable. And I know it's not exact. You do the best you can, right? But yeah, and if you look, these numbers look really good. If you look at his MLB numbers, they look awful, and that's kind of where we went wrong on opening day because we're using MLB numbers instead of actually knowing what's going to happen. If you look at the game he had, again, it's only one game. Not trying to overreact. I understand that, but you look at the game he had, and you can see he just smashed on opening day. But a .667 WHIP, a 38% strikeout rate. Now that was against, pretty sure that was against a weaker team. I forget the team it was against, but the NC Dinos are obviously very tough. Not necessarily as easy. I'll just show you guys a quick peek so you can see what he's up against. Well, actually, you can see they have, and we have their opponent strikeout rate here, 16.06%, and that's a projected lineup, and it's based off of, last year's numbers. But keep in mind that the Dinos they were a below average team in strikeouts, meaning they didn't strike out as much as the league average. They were striking out less than the league average. And I think I'm pretty sure they hit the most home runs in the league last year. So again, teams change, things are a little bit different, but it's a little bit of a riskier spot. Now, Despaigne throws like cutters, pitches like, I think like sinkers, cutters, those kind of pitches aren't used as often. I don't believe in the KBO, so they're typically more effective. So I think he's highly in play. What I don't like is the price increase. The 8,200 and just assuming that he's going to be as dominant against one of the better offenses in the game. So I think he'll be low owned despite the good performance because of the opponent. But there's plenty of risk that kind of comes with him, and it's a deep pitching slate. There's some cheaper guys, so I'm not too crazy about him, but definitely a guy, if I'm playing MME, which I am, like a bunch of teams, no reason not to have a little bit of exposure to at least. Going over to these guys, let's look at Drew Rusaninski for these dudes here. Let me just make sure you guys can... Oh, I'm looking at the wrong screen. There we go. All right, if we go to the pitching stats, let's look at Drew. I think Drew had the awesome game, right? Yeah. Drew had a really awesome opening day. And he had a good year last year. He's one of the better pitchers. These are his 2019 numbers. He had a 3.05 ERA, a 3.66 FIP, which is really good, a 1.179 WHIP. Didn't give up a ton of home runs. It just bothers me, the 16.28% K rate. And that's something that you kind of got to get used to. You got to temper your expectations in this league. There's just less strikeouts. Number one, because the hitters are more focused on contact rather than power. And number two, the pitching is typically not as good, right? Because these guys would be in the majors if they were like that fucking good, right? That makes sense. So Drew was good, man. Really solid pitcher at pitching to contact. It's just he's 9,200. And the strikeout numbers are low. And that's scary when you're paying that high of a price tag on a slate that has some pretty good pitchers. Again, if we compare to what he just did, if this thing decides to load, you can see, man, he was just dominant, right? Like, he just looked awesome. A 24% K rate in that outing. But I don't want to pay too much of that 9.2 price tag on a slate that's fairly deep for a guy that had on a full season last year, at a 16% strikeout rate. I just don't feel comfortable paying that kind of price for it, that's all. As far as the hitters go, against Despaigne, I think it's kind of interesting. I mean, it's going to go... I'll say this about these guys, man, between Sungbum Na, Aaron Altair, like, this is a good offense. So if we get the sense they could go low owned, they got a little bit of speed with Minwu Park and Myung-Ji Lee. Every team has a DH. So I don't know. I think there is some potential upside. You can see a lot of good WOBAs here, man. A lot of good WOBAs on this team. I mean, you look at 1 through 7, and everybody's got a WOBA over 330. It's crazy. The lowest one is 342 from that year. Now, Altair, I think I grabbed minor league numbers for him as well. He wasn't here last year. So his projection probably has to be adjusted to a certain degree. But I'll kind of let it play out because with the optimizers, the stack's going to force it. But I don't mind Altair. I may make a manual adjustment, actually, real quick. I had made one earlier to raise his projection, but I did a couple things to move things around, and I think his manual boost got bumped. But we can take a look and see what he's done for this season anyway. Just bear with me here. But you can see, man, it's a good offense. It's a good offense. And they don't strike out a lot. They got a little bit of speed. Not over the top, but they got a little bit of speed. So Despaigne, I don't want to overreact because he had one good game. I think that I would... If I can get an opportunity, I'm not going overboard on these guys because Despaigne was impressive, but I do think that let's see. DK hitters tab. And we need to find Aaron Altair. Let's do this. Nope. That's Aaron Brooks. Shit. Aaron Altair. There we go. Alright, yeah. So I'll give him a little boosty. Just to make up for a little bit. Let's see if that comes through. That should help him out. Put him up to par. I mean, he's expensive, so with the price being so low, it's kind of like, doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, he's averaging, what, 7 point... No, this is manual projection. Well, I guess he's not... That's the problem, is he's like only averaging 5 so far this year. So I guess the projection we had from really wasn't that far off from what he's done so far. So maybe that manual thing, we'll see. We'll see. I have to consider that. Maybe we'll give him a smaller boost. Because there's no real reason other than an expectation to raise him. But with that said, Sungbum Na continues to be pretty cheap. I'm sure I'm going to end up with a lot of him. With those, I do a lot of 3-2-1s, which in turn gives me a lot of 5-2-1s, which in turn gives me a lot of 5-3s. That's why I like to do it, because it gives me flexibility. And in those situations, you end up with a one-off a lot, the 5-2-1s. So I think Sungbum Na will probably be one that I see a pretty good amount. Luigi Yang, number 4 hitter, best catcher in baseball in the KBO. Over there, 9.37% K rate last year, 20 homers, 441 WOBA, but 221 ISO. He's expensive though. He's been pretty chalky on most days. They're an expensive team, except for Sungbum Na, Minwu Park. I don't know why they keep Na price low. This guy's good. He's good. If you look at him, he's like one of the hyped up kind of KBO players. So I have some interest here. No bad at it. Let's see what else we can find. We've got the Doosan Bears. Here we go. Doosan. Let me pop in the chat. Anybody in the chat? Dudley Cassie, who's your second best pitcher on the slate? Second best pitcher on the slate. Let me see if I can show you from a projection standpoint. Well, I would say, let me just pull this up so you can see it. Based off projection, I guess we'd have to find the first pitch. Well, on a projection, Kingham and Brooks project the best for us. I do like this Jokish dude, though. I'll get to him in a second because I think opponent also matters. So I guess right now I would say my top 3 would be Jokish, aka the Joker. Probably Kingham, and I'll explain why in a sec when we get there. It's more of a GPP thing, obviously, and probably Aaron Brooks, who also has a plus matchup, in my opinion, to answer your question. So that's probably what I'm looking at right now. But again, I do write an article that will be up at WiseTake.com, which is kind of thoughts on where I'm at with some of the players in my pool. I spend more time on pitching, obviously, because that's pretty important. And this slate, I think, is much deeper for pitching because we like so many pitchers. Obviously, that's going to mean we don't like as many offenses, but you got to do what you got to do at the end of the day. So let's go on to Doosan. We've got Alcantara pitching for Doosan. They're big 176 favorites. Alcantara, another guy. We have good pitching on the slate. It's possible he does well. He's against a lot of Giants whose offense was not very good last year. They're pretty popular. I know Sinsu Chu, that's his favorite team when he was growing up. That was the team he watched for the Texas Rangers. I've seen, they're the team I've seen the most buzz about, but when I look them up statistically, they're just not very good right now. So they've been okay this year, but it's been a surprise. They were expected to not do so well, so when they started off real hot, everybody was kind of shocked. With that said, Alcantara has just got a really low strikeout rate. We could look at his numbers as well coming here. Where are we at? Alcantara. So this was 2019 in the KBO. No, wait. Maybe it wasn't in the KBO. No, I don't think it was in the KBO. I'm going to confirm that. That's the problem when you get into this kind of shit. But hold on, I can tell you right now. I have confirmation of that. If I may have taken a sample from... No, yeah, he was. Okay. Yeah, this is from the KBO. He was on the Wiz last year as well. So, okay. This is off of... He had 27 starts last year. A 3.68... FIP is really solid, especially for that many starts. The 1.251 whip, not bad at all, especially when you factor in the 13.81% K rate. This dude don't strike people out. He's been relying on BABIP, but he's been pretty good at it. So he's relying on contact. He's got a weak offense. I'm okay with him. the ceiling concerns me. Now, these guys, the thing about contact pitchers and we see in the MLB, from time to time, not often, from time to time, you'll get like a Warwick Suppold game from opening day, whatever his name is, where not racking up a ton of Ks, but you're pitching to contact, you're not throwing a lot of balls, teams are swinging and they're getting soft contact, and so you go deep into the game very quickly. So I'm not saying he doesn't have a ceiling, because he can go complete game at some point, but when I say he doesn't have upside on a regular outing for him, I'm worried about upside. That's kind of where I'm at, and you'll see the same thing play out in the MLB if you haven't already. So even though the numbers aren't terrible, and I'm not dying to pick on him, I'm also not terribly interested in playing him. I'm not saying you can't, and I'll have some. I think when I ran some teams, I think I was getting some of him. I think. But anyway, let's keep it rolling. Where we at here? So while we're on the subject, you notice that our projections are favoring Doosan quite a bit. They're my favorite stack today. Just kind of following the numbers as well. They get the pitcher that has the weakest numbers on the slate, so they're probably going to be pretty chalky. You factor that in with the fact that their team is projected for 5.5 runs. That's their team projected over-under over at Pinnacle Sportsbook. I think they're going to be really popular. We'll see what their lineup is in the morning, but they're a very good offense, very good team. We've got Jose Fernandez over there, who had almost a 400 WOBA last year. You've got some speed with Su Bin Young, and also Minwu Park at the top. Even Kyung-Min Hur takes, his shots at stolen bases. I'm trying my best. I'm half Korean, and it's a damn shame that I didn't bother to learn Korean from my mom. She tried to teach me. Instead, I was an ignorant little child. But who would have known that it would have helped me now in this situation? But JLO, 201 ISO, 377 WOBA, almost a 4% home run percentage. That's really high for this league. I do like him. Same thing with Jaehwan Kim. I like Doosan, man. I like him a lot. They're my favorite stack. They're the stack I have the most of. And here's why. Won Sam Jang. So he's not going to pitch very long, I don't believe, anyway. I mean, he pitched a little bit, but looking at his 2019 stats, I think he had 8 appearances, maybe 3 starts. I could be mixing him up with another one, but he's got the worst numbers by far. Right, a 5.83 FIP last year, a 1.57 WHIP, a 4.41% home run percentage. Now in 2019, we don't have any data on him at the moment. I don't anyway. But taking a shot, man. It's a really good offense against this guy. That's why I think it's going to be popular. But I think you may be able to get different if you're doing stacks of them a lot. I think the way you get different is either to go different with your pitching and find some lower owned options, or at least one lower owned option, or mix it up with your mini stack or your one-offs. Find some lower owned players to work in with them. So it's baseball. Anything can happen. Anybody could bust, and things can get real frustrating or whatever. Like, that's definitely something that could happen. But is what it is. As far as the Giants go, well, we already talked about Alcantara a little bit. You can see offensively, like, why they're expected to not be good. They got, like, no power. Now, Dixon Machado, we can't, like, you'll notice that his projection is a lot higher than what his stats show. His stats are from one of the American League, like the MLB AAA. That's what the stats are show. So ignore his stats. He's been very good, which is why his projection's higher, because we have it averaged with whatever bullshit season this is, mixed with what he's done so far this year. So he's done that well to where he's elevated his projection up. He's fine. Minwu Jian, 22 homers, pretty solid, 363 WOBA, 180 ISO. The prices are very low for the most part for these guys. What's this guy? Chin Hung An actually projects really well for us. Not a very much power, but he does have some good WOBA action going on there. Just not all that excited. Like I said, Alcantara is a guy that's comfortable pitching to contact. He doesn't get rocked all that often from what we saw in his stats. It's all Doosan for me here, and the hitting, the bats for Doosan, of course. We got a couple more games. Go to Wyverns, which I believe, from my understanding, is some kind of dragon or something like that. That's what I was led to believe. That's what I was told. Dudley says like a lot of Giants as well. Good game stack. Dudley, I don't disagree in that. I think you could certainly try it. I do, like I said, 230, 240 teams a lot of the time. So I'll have little bits of different pieces. I'll have some teams more than others. But the only reason I was hesitant to go a little heavier is only because that pitcher seems comfortable pitching to contact. That's the only reason. But they'll be very low owned. They're very cheap. So if you want to load up on pitching or maybe pair them with some more expensive bats as well, you can certainly do that and try to get an edge that way. But just my opinion, but I respect yours as well, my man. So I appreciate you participating in the chat. Guys, if you haven't hit that like button, please hit that like button. It really helps us out, goes a long way. And we're getting real hype because baseball may be coming back in July. MLB. Baseball is back. MLB may be back. All right, so for SK, we got Nick Kingham, our boy. Again, tried to find a comparable AAA year. He wasn't awful in his KBO debut. It wasn't great. He's fairly cheap, though. And the matchup against LG, who was one of the below average offenses last year, let's kind of look and see what he's going up against. We can do that. Yeah, you can kind of see where we're coming from here. Again, just really low WOBAs and ISOs outside of... Now, Roberto Ramos is a beast. This guy is big as fuck, and he's a beast. Him being 2,700, I don't know what DraftKings is doing. Last year, Ramos had a 6%, almost a 6% home run rate. It's just ridiculous. So 30 home runs, yeah, okay, it was only 30 home runs. Based off the amount of at-bats he had, it was insane. And for him to be 2,700, it's ridiculous. With that said, I'm going to have some Kingham. We know Kingham has been prone to the long ball in the majors, not the majors, but that guy's got major league power, Ramos. So he's one LG guy that I do plan on working in exposure-wise. You don't really understand why they're so bad. Hyun-Soo Kim, former MLBer, you just don't understand why are they so bad, but they were last year. So I think maybe Kingham could bounce back. Again, I'm just going to show you. This is, again, that minor league year. It's nothing, all that important, but... If you look at what he did in this game, 3.86 ERA, a 2.81 FIP, so maybe got a little bit unlucky by a run or so. Had a pretty solidly low whip at 1.143. I didn't like the lack of strikeouts, but again, this team was above average in strikeouts, meaning they struck out above the league average, LG. Let's actually look and see. I know I'm switching all these screens and forgetting to switch the other screen, so my bad. Maybe I have to make an adjustment. Maybe we have Kingham a little too high. Let me just see. Yeah, I mean, if the opposition only has a 16% K rate, I guess he's not as cheap as you'd like. So maybe we're a little too aggressive on him. Let me kind of look and see what I have going into the projection. Let me just check real quick. Kingham. So Kingham. It's a plus matchup. That's basically why I think we're a little higher on Kingham. I do have him, I think maybe a little bit too high. Yeah, I think okay. So we had a manual boost. I just removed it. So this is probably really where he's at. So let's look at that pitching sheet again real quick. I'm just going to switch the screen so you guys can actually see it. So now if we look, Aaron Brooks and Jokish, I believe, are now the top two pitchers for me. I think I actually am more comfortable with that. Kingham is still rated fairly high based off his price and everything, but I think I like this better, Jokish and Brooks, at the moment. All right, let's get back at it. Let's get back to it. Where the fuck were we? Okay. Oh yeah, Wu Chan Cha. Okay, here's where. So Kingham, we talked about him. I'm all right with him. As far as the offense goes, we know this team has a lot of power, but it's mainly coming from two people, and that's Jiang Choi and Jamie Romack. 29 homers apiece last year, just under 5% home run rate for each last year. They're very similar players. RBIs were similar. Runs were similar. Strikeout rates, Romack strikes out a little bit more. Walk rates very similar. I would imagine that when they don't have a nut matchup, they'll be somewhat cheap. They'll be somewhat low on because of the fact that they're so expensive every day. But there's a lot of cheap players lying around. I mean, look at this team. Look how many 2K players there are. 3 2K players here, if you are stacking them. So let's get into the opposing pitcher, Wu Chan Cha, to see if he's someone we want to attack. So Wu Chan Cha, I was actually a little impressed with what I saw when I dug into him. So on paper, in 2019, it wasn't all that special, but it wasn't terrible. 4.12 ERA, 4 xFIP, 1.426 WHIP is a little high. Strikeout rate at 17% is not the worst, but it's nothing to get excited about. If we look at what he did in his last start, he was excellent. A 1.5 ERA, a 3.93 xFIP, so maybe he was a little bit lucky on that end. Low WHIP, high home run percentage, 31.82%. So I actually do think SK is a viable. I keep clicking all the wrong shit. My bad, guys. Is a viable stack. There we go. I do think that they're a viable stack. We've got 110 odds. What's interesting though is that this game actually has the lowest total on the board. If you'll notice that both teams are projected for 3.5 runs, this has the lowest total on the board. And it's kind of a coin flip in terms of odds, basically a pick 'em almost. So while I'm tempted to go towards the bats, Vegas is kind of telling me to stick with the pitching. So I'm kind of interested in both these guys, like just grabbing some exposure too, a little bit more in Kingham, but I think that's more of a familiarity thing. I have no real reason to not want to roll a little bit with Chu. I did not want to with Cha. I did not want to overreact to his. Let me switch screens here. I didn't want to overreact to his last game where he went for 27 DraftKings points with a 31% K rate, because it was just very, very drastically different from what he did last year. And you can see that the FIP says maybe he should have given up a little more runs than he did. 4.5% K rate. So I am a little interested in SK. I'm curious on what their ownership's going to be, curious on what their lineup's going to look like. A lot of question marks, but I do think the SK bats are kind of interesting. With that said, I'll probably have a little exposure to Cha, but not a ton. Not a ton. But yeah, man, so maybe we find a way to get Romac and Choi and some of these guys worked in there. Like I said, it depends on the lineup. We'll have to see what they put out. But it could be a way to get different if people are going to stay away. As far as LG goes, like I said, Ramos, man, is that dude. So I'll have some King, but Ramos, I'm going to have some Ramos, man. I'm going to have some Ramos. They're just not like a great team, but we'll have to see what the lineups look like, right? They got some speed. Ji-Wan Oh with 27 stolen bases. Chun-Won Wong Lee with 21. Neither team strikes out a bunch. We're going to see some balls get put in play. But like I said, I looked at it and thought maybe we can get some pitching low owned. But I'm sorry, some stacks low owned because the pricing is really good for these teams. But I looked at Vegas, and when I look at the projections of these pitchers, it kind of made me hover a little more towards them, point per out based off their pricing. So I don't know. Maybe I'll lean a little bit more towards the pitching in this one. I think I will. Last game, we have the Samsung Lions and the Kiwoom Heroes. Samsung. All right. Okay, so Ben Lively, his second start of the season. He comes in as a big underdog. Why? Because Samsung sucks. Offensively, they're just not very good. It's funny because if you look at their 2019 stats, they have some guys that we saw way worse numbers elsewhere. They got Ja-Woo Koo, who had 15 homers. Won Seok Lee, who had 19 homers. But a lot of shit mixed up in there. A lot. Lively's the interesting one. He didn't do particularly great in his last start. It wasn't terrible. It just wasn't great. This guy's like your big upside dude. He's got one of the best strikeout rates last year in the entire KBO. I will show you the pitching sheet for this one. So this is 2019, Ben Lively, who was only 6,900, by the way. The problem is he's going up against one of the best offenses in this league. We'll get into that. 3.95 ERA for Lively last year, but a 2.92 FIP. Very good. 1.123 WHIP. Very good for a full season, or for a season. 24.5% K rate in the MLB. Maybe you're not all that excited, but in this league, that's very good. And obviously only a 1.69% home run rate. So a little boomer busty. We saw in his last game. He had like 6 Ks through 6 innings, but he gave up 6 runs. If we look at how that game went from an advanced metric perspective, 4 earned runs, but his FIP was 7. That's a little worrisome. Is something wrong with him? You know what I'm saying? The K rate wasn't terrible. Still at 23.08, not too far off from his average, which is still very good for this league. a 1.5 whip, a 7.69% home run rate. So there were some concerns. And now he's playing one of the better offenses out there, which we can take a look at real quick. So now we've got one of the better offenses here. We got Byung-Ho Park, who's just a freak. A 6.2% home run rate last year, home run percentage, 33 homers, a 416 WOBA, 280 ISO, just a freak. But this team's expected to have a good offense. Now, I know you're looking at these numbers and you're like, it doesn't look all that crazy, but if you actually pay attention, the 2 through 6 have WOBAs. The lowest WOBA is 349. So maybe not a ton of these guys have power in between, but they do, like correlation-wise, these guys are getting on base for Park, I think, to come through. And even Byung-Ho Kim, who's got a 183 ISO because he had 19 homers last year. So I think that there is some upside. I do actually want to take some chances on them. I'm not saying I'm dying to attack Lively. I think Lively is a low-owned, high-upside play, and that's one of the issues. I think it's a boom or bust situation. The other side of this is one-sided. We'll get into that in a second. But as far as the KIW offense versus Lively, I'm kind of really torn. Two nights ago, the last slate, we were in the same situation with Straley. I split Straley, like my shares, 20% of the stacks, 20% of Straley against the stack. However, I ended up sorting everything by projection, and my projections, I designed them to favor against Straley a little bit. So even though I had Straley exposure, I had exposure to him in my smaller contests. In my larger contests that mattered a little bit more, I really didn't have much at all, if any. And so that sucked. I find this a similar situation. That's a whole different learning curve I'll get into some other time. But I find myself in a similar situation here with Lively, who like I said last year, was one of the best pitchers in the game from a strikeout perspective and everything. Up until now going against one of the offenses supposed to be one of the best in the game, but I have seen kind of stink it up at times. So again, decisions to make. But it's a very polarizing spot. You're going to want to have, in MMEs, you're going to have to want some with him, want some against him. Maybe he's low owned because he's such a big underdog and we have so many other pitching options. I don't know, but the price is really low on a pitcher that has that kind of upside. I will say this, though, this little tidbit that really scared me. This part really, really shook me up a little bit. I know he got rocked last season against this team. The Heroes, I'm going to read you the stat lines in a second. Let me just find it real quick. So he played these guys last year, August 25th, 2019. His team lost 21-8. This is a baseball game. They lost 21-8. He gave up 7 hits in 2. This is all in 2 innings. He only pitched 2 innings. Only threw 49 pitches. 2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 9 earned runs. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit by pitch. He was just awful. Not saying that that's definitely going to happen again, but it could. I mean, that's upside. And from when I was going through his game logs, it looked like he was pretty much boom or bust. Like, for the most part, he either does really, really well or really shitty, right? Like, I'll just read you some of his, going back to last year. So, 9/28 2019, we're going backwards here. 9.75, 24.95, 7.3, 37.6, 24.7, 20.15, all awesome. Then a negative 15.5, that was against these guys. 50 against Hannah or whatever. 14 against SK, that was the only real mediocre game that he had during that stretch. So that's what we're looking at. It's a polarizing position. Like I said, I'd like to split the exposure. I'm not going to do that where I go all in on one side in my bigger contest. I'm going to try to keep it somewhat evenly whatever distribution I decide on. I'm going to try to keep it that distribution all throughout the team so that I have each kind of team in each kind of contest. If that makes sense. Now let's get on to the other pitcher, Mr. Jokic. And this is all one-sided for me. I do like Jokic. I feel like he's one of the safer pitchers out there. Big favorite, 195. Looking at his numbers from last year, he was solid, man. What was it? 3.13 ERA, 3.02 FIP. WHIP was 1.131. 18.9% K rate, which is decent for this league. It's not like phenomenal, but nobody really is in this league. Well, not much. And more importantly, his opponent thing, man. This opponent, assuming this is a projected lineup, we'll see what they come out. But this particular lineup, one of the higher strikeout rates for a team in the league in Samsung, 19.32. So this is, again, playing the opponent is kind of where we're at here, I think. And it makes me kind of interested. So I am definitely interested in Jokic. I know he's a little more expensive. I prefer him. If I'm going to pay up, I prefer him to the other guy, whatever, at 9.2 for I forget what team that is. It the Dinos? I don't remember. But he would be the spend up that I prefer. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at, guys. You know, I'll have some KIW stacks. I'll have some Byung-Ho Park. He's got too much upside. I mean, he's got the best power numbers in the league last year. He should be, in my opinion, up there with the Jamie Romax and all them guys. I don't know why. I guess recency bias, but still. But yeah, so a polarizing spot with Lively and the Kiboom Heroes. But I do like Jokic. That's one side of this game that I'm definitely with. So he's probably my top pitcher, one of my top pitchers. Him and Brooks probably the two top pitchers for me so far on this slate. Pop in there, see what the nation's got to say. Xandru Vlad says, I like Omar Despaigne, but he's against the Dinos. I completely agree. I like what I see. I do think Omar is going to be more successful in this league. I think guys that throw more sinkers and things like that, I do think that they'll be more successful in this league. But again, he just happens to be playing one of, if not the best offense in the game, and that's the part that worries me also, Vlad. But I'll have some, just probably not as much as I would have, considering how good he was in that last game. Dudley Cassie says, home run call. Who's hitting a home run today? I like that. So I guess I'll pick like, let me see. Home run. I'm going to pick somebody from Doosan. Let's pull up Doosan, because I know that's going to be the stack I have the most of. Let's go. Wow, no way. Has he been? No way. This guy's been bad or something? Why the hell is JLO so cheap? I mean, assuming he plays, I'll go with JLO at 3,500. I know that price is not supposed to matter, but damn. It's really cheap. You can see we got Doosan jacked all the way the fuck up. It's not like I didn't manually do it. It's just because of how bad One Sung Jang's numbers were relative to the league average. 1.57 whip was, well, in combination with a home run rate of 4.41 last year is the reason that Doosan is projected so high. But I'm fine with it. They'll be chalky, though. But yeah, Doosan is a stack I'm rolling with. They'll be chalk. I'm going to try to get different with the pitching, work in some different pitchers, spread some exposures, you know. Do the dirty to your neighbor before your neighbor do the dirty to you. Xandru Vlad, I accidentally took Dixon Machado in my lineup, and I was like, watch, he's gonna hit a home run, and now he did. Yeah, man, he's been good, man. You'll see it. Like I said, it's kind of like for everything I've read, it's been like they're comparing KBO to like AAA. So guys that maybe were more successful in AAA, they're gonna be more successful here. Guys that couldn't cut it in the majors, we're talking about the best players in the world, Major League Baseball. But anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Hopefully, like I said, I'll try to do these Monday through Friday when I have time. Follow me on Twitter at CK_013. Follow WiseTake on Twitter at Wise_Take so you don't miss out any of the content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not. If you're in New York, I'm sorry, man. That sucks. They're not letting. I'm in New Jersey, so I can. But in New York, they're not letting New Yorkers play KBO. I heard so. That fucking sucks. But, we're here doing our thing. Going to provide the content. Very excited. I'm going to be doing this to stay in touch with y'all and also doing this to keep myself fresh up on the stream life because I haven't done them as often, at least not for fantasy specific stuff, slate specific stuff. And baseball may be coming back in July. So I'm ready. Hit that like button. Tell your friends. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate you guys. Feedback is always appreciated. If it's something you want to see, if I can make it happen, I'll try. If I can't make it happen, maybe I'll explain to you why we did something the way we did. But we're working with what we got. Appreciate y'all. I'm getting out of here. As always, good luck.